There's a frequency, hidden in plain sight, that 99% of people will never discover. It's not some mystical concept or New Age fantasy. It's the precise energetic signature that bridges the gap between the life you're living and the one you keep seeing in your mind. While most people waste years visualizing the same dreams over and over, a small group has cracked the code to something far more powerful. What they've uncovered isn't just another self-help technique. It's a fundamental understanding of how consciousness interacts with the quantum field that surrounds us every second of every day. Think about this for a moment. You've probably been told that if you just visualize hard enough, your dreams will manifest. You've sat there, eyes closed, imagining your perfect life in vivid detail. Maybe you even created vision boards, wrote in gratitude journals, or repeated affirmations until your throat was sore. Yet here you are, still waiting for that breakthrough. You might have even started questioning whether any of this manifestation stuff actually works, wondering if you're just wasting your time on feel-good fantasies that have no real impact on your circumstances. The reason your visualizations haven't worked isn't because you're doing them wrong. It's because you're missing the quantum component that actually makes manifestation possible. Every visualization program, every manifestation course, every self-help guru has been teaching you to work with the surface level of reality while completely ignoring the fundamental energetic mechanics that actually create change. They've been giving you the steering wheel without teaching you how the engine works. Scientists have discovered that everything in our universe, including your thoughts, operates as energy vibrating at specific frequencies. Your coffee cup vibrates at one frequency, your smartphone at another, and your deepest desires at yet another. But here's the kicker that changes everything. Most people are trying to manifest from a frequency that directly contradicts what they want. They're broadcasting desperation while trying to attract abundance. They're radiating fear while attempting to call in love. They're vibrating at the frequency of, "I don't have this," while expecting the universe to deliver, "I have everything I need." This disconnect isn't your fault. You were never taught how energy actually works. You weren't shown that every emotion, every thought, every belief carries its own unique vibrational signature. When you truly understand this principle, you realize that manifestation isn't about convincing the universe to give you something. It's about becoming energetically identical to what you desire, so that the quantum field has no choice but to reflect that frequency back to you. The problem runs deeper than most people realize. From childhood, you've been programmed to focus on what's wrong, what's missing, and what needs to be fixed. Your brain has been trained to scan for problems and threats as a survival mechanism. This constant focus on lack and limitation creates a default frequency of scarcity that becomes so familiar you don't even notice it anymore. You wake up thinking about your problems, spend your day worrying about challenges, and fall asleep rehearsing your fears for tomorrow. Every time you check your bank account and feel disappointed, you're reinforcing the frequency of financial lack. Every time you scroll through social media and compare your life to others, you're strengthening the frequency of not being enough. Every time you think about your goals and feel that familiar pang of "when will this happen for me?" you're broadcasting the exact opposite frequency of what you're trying to create. Here's what they don't tell you about quantum physics and consciousness. Every single thing you can observe, from the chair you're sitting on to the goals you're chasing, exists as energy vibrating at different rates. Your thoughts aren't just random electrical impulses in your brain. They carry their own vibrational signature, their own quantum frequency. The breakthrough comes when you realize that like frequencies attract each other, just like tuning forks that resonate when placed near each other. But this goes deeper than simple attraction. Quantum physicists have discovered that particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed. This phenomenon, called superposition, suggests that reality itself is far more fluid than we've been taught. Your life, your circumstances, your possibilities exist in a state of quantum potential until your consciousness collapses them into a specific experience. The frequency you consistently operate from determines which version of reality becomes your lived experience. Consider the famous double-slit experiment that baffled scientists for decades. When particles are fired through two slits, they behave like waves and create an interference pattern, suggesting they went through both slits simultaneously. But the moment scientists try to observe which slit the particle goes through, it behaves like a particle and only goes through one slit. The act of observation literally changes the fundamental nature of reality at the quantum level. Now imagine applying this principle to your life. Every possibility you can imagine already exists in the quantum field as potential. Your dream career, perfect relationship, ideal health, financial freedom, they're all there as vibrational possibilities waiting to be collapsed into your experience. The question isn't whether these possibilities exist. The question is, what frequency are you consistently operating from that determines which possibilities become your reality? The implications of this are staggering. It means that every moment you're choosing from infinite possibilities based on your energetic state. Most people unconsciously choose from fear, lack, and limitation because that's the frequency they've been conditioned to operate from. But when you learn to consciously shift your frequency, you gain access to entirely different possibilities that were always there, just invisible to your previous energetic state. Think about how different your life would be if you could perceive and access the possibilities that exist at higher frequencies. What opportunities would you notice that you're currently blind to? What connections would you make that seem impossible from your current state? What solutions would become obvious that are completely hidden from your present perspective? But here's where it gets really interesting. Quantum mechanics has revealed something called the observer effect. This means that the simple act of observing a quantum system actually changes its state. Your consciousness isn't just passively watching reality unfold, it's actively participating in creating what you experience. When you focus your attention on something with the right frequency, you're literally influencing the quantum field around you. This isn't theoretical anymore. Advanced imaging technology has shown that focused attention creates measurable changes in brain activity that extend beyond the skull. Your electromagnetic field, which extends several feet from your body, shifts and reorganizes based on your thoughts and emotions. When you're operating from love, gratitude, and abundance, your field becomes coherent and powerful. When you're stuck in stress, fear, and scarcity, your field becomes chaotic and weak. The HeartMath Institute has conducted extensive research showing that coherent emotional states create measurable changes in your heart's electromagnetic field, which is 5,000 times stronger than your brain's electromagnetic field. When you're in a state of appreciation, love, or compassion, your heart rhythm becomes coherent and organized. This coherent signal is transmitted throughout your body and extends into the space around you, influencing everyone and everything in your environment. The research gets even more fascinating when you look at how consciousness affects physical matter. Studies have shown that human intention can influence random number generators, plant growth, and even water crystal formation. Dr. Masaru Emoto's controversial water crystal experiments suggested that human thoughts and emotions could affect the molecular structure of water. Whether you believe his specific findings or not, the broader principle points to something profound. Consciousness appears to have effects that extend beyond the physical boundaries of the brain. If your consciousness can affect these simple systems, imagine what it's doing to the complex web of circumstances, relationships, and opportunities that make up your life. Every interaction you have, every decision you make, every thought you think is occurring within your electromagnetic field. When that field is coherent and aligned with what you desire, it influences everything within its range in ways that support your desired outcomes. But here's what most people miss. Your electromagnetic field isn't just affecting the physical world around you, it's also affecting your perception of what's possible. When you're operating from a coherent, high-frequency state, you literally see opportunities, solutions, and possibilities that are invisible when you're in a chaotic, low-frequency state. Reality doesn't change. Your ability to perceive what's already there changes. Most people try to manifest from a place of wanting, which carries the frequency of lack. They're essentially broadcasting, "I don't have this," to the universe every time they desire something. Think about how it feels when you want something desperately. There's tension, urgency, a sense of incompleteness. That feeling is your frequency, and it's directly opposed to the frequency of having what you want. This creates what researchers call a wanting trap. The more intensely you want something, the more you reinforce the experience of not having it. Your brain interprets the intense desire as evidence that you're separate from what you want, which keeps you locked in the frequency of separation and lack. You become addicted to the feeling of wanting because it's so familiar, even though it's the exact opposite of the frequency that would actually attract what you desire. The quantum frequency that actually works operates from a completely different principle. Instead of wanting what you desire, you become an energetic match for it. You start vibrating at the same frequency as already having it, which creates a magnetic pull in the quantum field. This isn't about pretending or positive thinking. It's about genuinely shifting your internal state to match the energy of your desired outcome. Here's a perfect example of how this plays out. Someone who wants to attract wealth, but constantly worries about money, is operating from two opposing frequencies simultaneously. Their desire says, "I want abundance," while their emotional state broadcasts, "I'm afraid of not having enough." The quantum field responds to the stronger, more consistent frequency, which is usually the fear-based one, because it's backed by years of conditioning and repetitive thought patterns. Every time they check their bank balance and feel anxiety, they're strengthening the neural pathways associated with financial insecurity. Every time they see an expensive item and think, "I can't afford that," they're reinforcing their identity as someone who lacks resources. Every time they worry about bills or future expenses, they're practicing the frequency of scarcity and limitation. The person who successfully attracts wealth operates from an entirely different frequency. When they see expensive items, they feel appreciation for the craftsmanship, rather than anxiety about the price. When they pay bills, they feel grateful for the services they've received, rather than resentful about the money going out. When they think about their financial future, they feel excited about possibilities, rather than worried about problems. This isn't about positive thinking or fake it till you make it mentality. It's about understanding that your electromagnetic field changes when you shift your thoughts and emotions, when you genuinely feel abundant instead of needy, grateful instead of desperate, confident instead of doubtful. Your entire energetic signature transforms. The quantum field responds to what you are, not what you want. Scientists have measured this phenomenon using sophisticated equipment that can detect the electromagnetic signatures of different emotional states. Love, joy, and gratitude create coherent, organized patterns that extend far beyond the physical body. Fear, anger, and frustration create chaotic, disorganized patterns that actually interfere with your ability to perceive opportunities and solutions. Dr. Roland McCrady's research at the HeartMath Institute has shown that when people shift into coherent emotional states, their cognitive performance improves dramatically. They make better decisions, solve problems more creatively, and perceive their environment more accurately. This isn't just about feeling better. It's about accessing higher levels of intelligence and perception that are only available when your electromagnetic field is organized and coherent. What's even more remarkable is that when you consistently operate from coherent emotional states, you begin to influence the electromagnetic fields of people around you. This is why some people seem to naturally attract success, love, and opportunity wherever they go. They're not just lucky, they're operating from a frequency that creates coherence in their environment, making positive outcomes more likely to occur. Have you ever noticed how you feel different around certain people? Some people make you feel energized, optimistic, and capable, while others leave you feeling drained, anxious, or pessimistic. This isn't just psychology, it's physics. You're literally responding to their electromagnetic field, and they're responding to yours. When you learn to maintain a coherent, high-frequency state, you become someone who elevates every environment you enter. The technique itself is surprisingly simple, but requires precision and consistency. First, identify the feeling state of already having what you desire. Not the excitement of getting it, not the relief of finally achieving it, but the calm, natural knowing of possessing it. This feeling is completely different from wanting it. When you already have something, there's no urgency, no desperation, no sense of lack. There's just a quiet confidence and gratitude for what is. Most people skip this crucial step because they can't imagine feeling abundant when their bank account is empty, or feeling loved when they're single, or feeling healthy when they're dealing with physical challenges. But this is exactly the quantum leap that transforms everything. Your external circumstances are a reflection of your internal frequency, not the other way around. When you change the frequency first, the circumstances must follow to match the new energetic pattern you're broadcasting. This principle is supported by neuroscience research on neuroplasticity. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on your thoughts and experiences. When you consistently practice feeling states associated with your desired outcomes, you're literally creating new neural pathways that support those realities. Your brain begins to fire and wire in patterns that align with success, abundance, love, or whatever you're focusing on. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research has shown that people can create measurable changes in their brain structure and chemistry simply by practicing elevated emotional states during meditation. Brain scans reveal increased connectivity in areas associated with learning, memory, and emotional regulation. Blood tests show changes in gene expression that support health and well-being. These aren't placebo effects. They're measurable biological changes created by shifting consciousness. Here's how to practice this frequency shift effectively. Start with short periods, maybe 5 to 10 minutes at a time. Close your eyes and imagine you're living 1 year from now, having already achieved what you desire. Don't focus on the things you would have. Focus on how you would feel. What's your energy like when you wake up in the morning? How do you carry yourself? What's your relationship with yourself and others? How do you approach challenges and opportunities? The key is to make this feeling state so real and natural that your body begins to believe it's actually happening. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you consistently practice being in the frequency of your desired outcome, your body starts producing the chemistry of that reality. You begin to naturally act, speak, and make decisions from that elevated state. But don't just practice this during formal meditation sessions. The real transformation happens when you can access these elevated states throughout your day. When you're stuck in traffic, instead of feeling frustrated, you practice the calm confidence of someone whose life flows effortlessly. When you're faced with a challenge at work, instead of feeling overwhelmed, you embody the resourcefulness of someone who always finds solutions. Every moment becomes an opportunity to choose your frequency. When you wake up in the morning, before you check your phone or think about your to-do list, you tune into the frequency of your desired reality. Throughout the day, whenever you notice yourself dropping into old patterns of lack or fear, you consciously shift back to the frequency of already having what you want. Your job isn't to figure out how it will happen. That's the universe's department. Your job is to become so familiar with that feeling that it becomes your new baseline energy. When you wake up in the morning, instead of immediately checking your phone or thinking about your problems, you tune into that frequency. Throughout the day, whenever you notice yourself dropping into old patterns of lack or fear, you consciously shift back to the frequency of already having what you want. This practice becomes easier with time, but it requires vigilance in the beginning. Your mind has been conditioned to focus on problems, limitations, and what's wrong with your current situation. Those thought patterns have carved deep neural pathways that pull you back into familiar frequencies of struggle and lack. Breaking free from these patterns requires conscious effort and repetition until the new frequency becomes your default setting. Think of it like learning to play a musical instrument. At first, every note requires conscious effort and attention. Your fingers don't naturally know where to go, and the sounds you create might not resemble music at all. But with consistent practice, the movements become automatic and the music flows naturally. The same thing happens with frequency work. What initially requires constant conscious effort eventually becomes your natural way of being. The challenge is that your environment is constantly trying to pull you back into lower frequencies. The news is designed to trigger fear and anxiety. Social media algorithms show you content that creates comparison and inadequacy. Even well-meaning friends and family members might unconsciously try to keep you operating from familiar frequencies because your growth challenges their own limitations. This is why it's crucial to be intentional about what you expose yourself to during this transformation process. The frequencies you're exposed to throughout the day either support your desired state or pull you away from it. Choose your inputs carefully. Surround yourself with people, content, and experiences that reinforce the frequency you're cultivating. But here's where the controversy kicks in. Mainstream scientists argue there's no measurable evidence that thoughts actually vibrate at frequencies that can influence physical reality. They claim the connection between quantum physics and manifestation is pseudoscience dressed up in legitimate terminology. Critics point out that quantum effects typically only occur at subatomic levels, not in the macroscopic world where manifestation supposedly happens. Physicists argue that the observer effect in quantum mechanics doesn't mean consciousness creates reality in the way manifestation advocates suggest. They maintain that observation in quantum experiments refers to measurement by instruments, not human consciousness. The scientific community remains skeptical about claims that human thoughts can directly influence physical outcomes through quantum mechanisms. Dr. Lawrence Krauss, a theoretical physicist, has been particularly vocal about what he calls the quantum mysticism movement. He argues that people are misappropriating legitimate quantum physics concepts to support beliefs that have no scientific basis. According to Krauss and other physicists, quantum effects like superposition and entanglement occur in isolated laboratory conditions that have no relevance to daily human experience. Research institutions have conducted numerous studies trying to prove or disprove the connection between consciousness and physical reality. While some experiments show statistically significant results, others fail to replicate these findings. The debate continues to rage in academic circles, with traditionalists dismissing consciousness-based manifestation as wishful thinking and progressives arguing that science simply hasn't caught up to what practitioners have been experiencing for decades. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Laboratory spent nearly 3 decades studying the effects of human consciousness on physical systems. Their results showed small but statistically significant effects of human intention on random number generators and other physical systems. However, the effect sizes were so small that many scientists argued they were within the range of experimental error or statistical anomalies. On the other side of the debate, researchers like Dr. Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences have compiled extensive meta-analyses showing consistent, though small, effects of consciousness on physical systems. Radin argues that while individual experiments might show small effects, the cumulative evidence across thousands of studies points to a real phenomenon that mainstream science has been reluctant to acknowledge. Some neuroscientists propose alternative explanations for manifestation phenomena. They suggest that when people practice these techniques, they're actually rewiring their brains to notice opportunities they previously overlooked, take different actions, and respond to situations in ways that naturally lead to better outcomes. From this perspective, the magic isn't in influencing external reality through quantum fields, but in optimizing internal processing to make better choices and recognize possibilities. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford, has studied how visualization and mental rehearsal affect neural plasticity and performance. His research shows that imagining actions activates many of the same neural pathways as actually performing those actions. This could explain why visualization techniques appear to work, not because they influence external reality through quantum fields, but because they prepare the brain to recognize and act on opportunities that support desired outcomes. The reticular activating system, a network of neurons in the brainstem, filters the millions of bits of sensory information you receive every second and determines what reaches your conscious awareness. When you consistently focus on specific outcomes or opportunities, you're essentially programming this system to notice related information in your environment. This could explain why people who practice manifestation techniques suddenly start noticing opportunities they claim weren't there before. Yet thousands of people report dramatic life changes when they master this frequency work. They describe everything from doubling their income to finding perfect relationships to healing health issues that doctors couldn't fix. The pattern is always the same. They stopped trying to get what they wanted and started being what they wanted. Their external reality shifted to match their internal frequency, often in ways that seemed impossible based on their previous circumstances. Take Sarah, who spent 3 years applying for her dream job at a major tech company with no success. She had the qualifications, the experience, and the drive, but kept getting rejected at the final interview stage. Everything changed when she stopped focusing on getting the job and started operating from the frequency of already being the person who would excel in that role. She began showing up to her current job with the confidence and creativity of someone who belonged at the top tier of her industry. Within 2 months, a headhunter contacted her about a position that was even better than the one she'd been chasing. Or consider Marcus, who had been single for 5 years despite actively dating and trying every relationship advice he could find. He was attractive, successful, and genuinely kind, but couldn't seem to connect with anyone on a deeper level. When he shifted his focus from finding love to being love, everything changed. Instead of going on dates hoping to meet the one, he started showing up as the most authentic, present version of himself. He stopped trying to impress people and started genuinely enjoying the process of getting to know them. Within 6 months, he met his now wife in the most unexpected place, a grocery store checkout line. Then there's Jennifer, who had been struggling with chronic health issues for over a decade. She had seen countless doctors, tried numerous treatments, and spent thousands of dollars on supplements and alternative therapies with minimal improvement. Her breakthrough came when she stopped identifying as a sick person trying to get healthy and started embodying the frequency of someone who was naturally vibrant and energetic. She began moving her body as if it were strong and capable, eating as if she loved and respected herself, and thinking as if health were her natural state. Within months, her energy levels soared, her symptoms diminished, and her doctors were amazed by her blood work improvements. These stories aren't anomalies. They represent a pattern that emerges when people truly understand and apply frequency work. The common thread isn't that they got lucky, or that the universe magically delivered their desires. It's that they became energetically congruent with what they wanted, which naturally led to different choices, behaviors, and responses that aligned with their desired outcomes. What's particularly interesting is that these transformations often happen in ways that seem to defy logical explanation. Sarah didn't get the job she was applying for. She got contacted about a better opportunity that she hadn't even known existed. Marcus didn't meet his wife through the dating apps he had been using. He met her in a completely unexpected context when he had stopped actively looking. Jennifer's healing didn't come from a new treatment or medication. It emerged from a fundamental shift in how she related to her body and herself. This pattern suggests that when you truly shift your frequency, you don't just attract the specific things you've been wanting, you attract whatever is the highest expression of that frequency in your life. The universe seems to have intelligence that knows what you really need better than your conscious mind does. When you align with the frequency of abundance, you might get financial opportunities, but you might also get rich relationships, abundant health, or an abundance of creative inspiration. What happens first isn't the big manifestation you're hoping for. It's subtle changes in how opportunities present themselves, how people respond to you, and what possibilities you suddenly notice. Your perception shifts because you're operating from a different energetic state. You start seeing solutions where you used to see problems. You notice connections and possibilities that were always there but invisible to your previous frequency. You might find yourself having conversations with strangers that lead to unexpected opportunities. You might suddenly remember a skill or resource you had forgotten about. You might feel inspired to take actions that seemed random at the time, but later proved to be perfectly aligned with your goals. These aren't coincidences. They're the natural result of operating from a coherent, high-frequency state that allows you to perceive and respond to your environment more effectively. Then, because you're tuned to the right frequency, you naturally take inspired actions that align with what you're seeking. These aren't forced actions born from desperation or strategy. They're natural impulses that arise from your elevated state. You find yourself saying yes to invitations you would have declined before. You start conversations with people you would have ignored. You pursue opportunities that your old self would have dismissed as unrealistic. The quality of your actions changes when you're operating from the right frequency. Instead of pushing and forcing, you find yourself flowing and allowing. Instead of trying to control outcomes, you focus on maintaining your energetic state and trusting the process. Instead of second-guessing every decision, you develop an intuitive knowing about what feels aligned and what doesn't. This shift in how you take action is crucial because it's often the missing piece in traditional goal-setting approaches. Most people know what they want and even know what actions they should take, but they struggle with execution because they're trying to take inspired actions from uninspired states. When you're operating from fear, limitation, or desperation, even the right actions feel forced and produce mediocre results. When you're operating from love, abundance, and possibility, even simple actions become powerful and effective. The universe doesn't have to bend reality for you. You become a magnet for the circumstances that already exist at that frequency level. Success, love, health, and abundance aren't rare commodities that need to be created from nothing. They're existing frequencies in the quantum field that you can tune into when you know how to match their energetic signature. Think about it this way. Radio waves for every station are already present in your environment right now. You're not creating the music when you tune your radio to a specific frequency. You're simply aligning your receiver with waves that were already there. The same principle applies to the experiences you want to create in your life. The frequency of your dream relationship, ideal career, perfect health, and abundant lifestyle already exists in the quantum field. Your job isn't to create these frequencies, it's to align yourself with them so they can express through your experience. This understanding completely revolutionizes how you approach goal achievement and life creation. Instead of working harder, you start working from a different frequency. Instead of trying to force outcomes, you align with them energetically and let them unfold naturally. Instead of fighting against what is, you elevate your frequency to match what you desire and watch as reality reorganizes itself to reflect your new energetic state. The implications of this shift extend far beyond just getting what you want. When you consistently operate from higher frequencies, you become a force for positive change in every environment you enter. Your coherent electromagnetic field influences everyone around you in subtle but powerful ways. You become someone who elevates conversations, inspires creativity, and brings out the best in others simply by your presence. You also develop what could be called quantum intuition, the ability to sense which choices, relationships, and opportunities are aligned with your highest good. This isn't psychic ability in the mystical sense. It's the natural result of operating from a coherent state that allows you to perceive subtle information that's normally filtered out by a chaotic or stressed nervous system. The transformation isn't just about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you really are, underneath all the conditioning, fear, and limitation you've accumulated over the years. When you consistently operate from higher frequencies, you discover that the person you're becoming is far more interesting than anything you thought you wanted to achieve. The external manifestations become natural byproducts of your internal evolution, rather than the primary goal you're chasing. This is perhaps the most profound aspect of frequency work. As you align with higher states of consciousness, you realize that the things you thought you wanted were often just symbols of deeper desires for freedom, love, creativity, and authentic self-expression. When you embody these qualities directly, the external symbols become less important, but paradoxically, they also become more likely to manifest because you're no longer attached to them in a needy way. The journey of mastering your quantum frequency is ultimately a journey of remembering who you really are, beyond all the stories, limitations, and identities you've collected throughout your life. It's about discovering that you're not a separate being trying to get things from an external universe, but rather a conscious expression of the universe itself, with the power to create and experience whatever reality you choose to align with energetically.